Yeah, okay. So it's a little bit late in the night because I saw it at pretty late. But I just got back from watching the FNAF 2 movie, and I think because I'm a couple days late to seeing the movie that I'm going to mix my spoiler and non-spoiler talk together, if that makes any sense. So this first bit is going to be no spoilers, and I will warn you when the spoiler part starts. So this part is just for, I guess, if you want to have my opinion, because I do know that the movie was kind of decisive among fans. I didn't get spoiled at all, thankfully. So I went in raw, and I had a good time. I thought the movie was good as well. I mean, it probably comes to no surprise to some of you, considering the video I made, last month, pretty much glazing the first movie, but I liked the first movie, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the second one's better in a lot of ways. It's not perfect. It has little holes in it, but so did the first one. And I'll talk about some of that, and some of it I can't talk about in detail in this part of the video, of course. Overall, I enjoyed this movie. I think the movie is unequivocally scarier. So if that was your complaint about the first movie, I think this movie is definitely unequivocally scarier. Now, I think your mileage will vary whether or not the movie as a whole is scary to you, but it's definitely scarier. The girl that was sitting next to me got so scared in like 2 different scenes that she put her knees like all the way up until her chin. It's kind of funny. And I think overall, the directing also got better from like Emma. I think there were some really cool shots in the movie that the first one just didn't really have. And you can really tell Scott had full creative writing control, because let me tell you, if you are not a fan of the books, the novels, or the Fazbear Frights books, or I guess Tales from the Beast books, I don't think you're gonna like this movie. I'm just gonna be upfront and honest, because a lot of the quirks and, for lack of a better word, corniness, even though I fucking love Scott's writing, it's present. It's in full force, man, and it's great. I think the acting was good across the board. No spoilers, of course, but I think they do really good with Vanessa's character. I'm very happy that they kind of continued her story from the first movie, and they don't just kind of drop the fact that she has trauma. So I think they do really well with her. I will say Mike in this movie is kind of an L throughout the movie. It's not that I dislike his character, or it's not even Josh Hutcherson either. Like, he did good in the role, but there are some things that Mike does in this movie and says that are a little bit like, all right, pal, calm down. I get it. He's trying to protect Abby. I'll talk more about that in the spoiler section, but he needs to calm down a little bit. I think if you enjoyed the characters in the first movie, I think a lot of them are continued greatly. And by the way, technically a small spoiler, but don't worry, it's not big. They do confirm that Aunt Jane is alive. So she's okay, kind of. I think she's admitted to a mental asylum, but she's okay. The music was really, really good. They got the Newton brothers back, and a lot of the music from the first movie kind of returns, and I really love the moments they choose to use it because it connects to the first movie, and they also added a new motif to the main theme, which I think is supposed to be the Marionettes theme. So yeah, and Marionette, very cool in this movie. It's not what I expected. I'm just gonna say that. I'm gonna be honest, I really liked some of the visuals with that character. As a non-spoiler review, I liked the movie. I think overall it is better than the first movie. There are bits of the pieces, I think, of the finale that I think the first movie might technically have a better finale, maybe a little bit. Maybe. They both kind of happen fast. I think the biggest complaint you can have about this second movie is that, although it wasn't a problem for me, I could see it being a problem for someone. It is all go. Once the inciting incident kicks off, I mean, this movie goes. It doesn't really slow down. I personally like that pacing, and I think it might be kind of a response to the fact that some people think the first movie had bad pacing of being a little bit too slow. This movie's all gas, no brakes. But I loved it, so take it at what you will. I think the critic score is fucking ridiculous. A 13? Even if you think the movie's mid, a 13 is fucking crazy, bro. Oh, and the voices. Megan Fox voicing Toy Chica was genuinely really good. Her voice really fits the character, much like we kind of thought it would. It matches a lot of what we have in the games, and I actually really liked that, I'm not gonna lie. Toy Freddy and Toy Bonnie didn't really have nearly as many lines in the movie, but I did kind of like Matt Pat's voice he did for Toy Bonnie. I did not expect it. I don't know why I thought it was gonna sound like him, but it really doesn't. He actually kind of killed it with doing a voice, so that was nice. And obviously Kellen Goff, he did a good Toy Freddy. It sounds like what you would expect Freddy to sound like. Also, the dialogue in this movie was pretty fucking cool. A lot of, not every line, but a lot of the lines are lifted straight from the games, and not in the same way that some people didn't like I Always Come Back in the first movie, because some people say it was a little bit out of place. The lines that they pull from the games are in context, and they flow really well, and it's really cool experiencing it in the moment, because you realize what they're talking about. It's cool. There's some really cool lines in this movie that you kind of pog at the screen like you're a Mandalorian Season 3 fan. I like Mandalorian Season 3. I don't know why I made that joke, but still, I am the target audience, chat. Another thing too, obviously this movie had plenty of little Easter eggs. I saw Candy the Cat on a cabinet, an arcade cabinet, so that's fucking awesome. Five Nights at Candy's, that's so cool. I swear to God, I saw Shadow Bonnie for like a nanosecond. I swear. Someone else in my theater said I saw that too, so I think I'm not crazy. I think I saw him. Let me know in the if you're here for the non-spoilers, do not go into the comments. I should probably do not go into the comments. They also used the har 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 har, like the Freddy Fazbear beatbox that was in the movie. It's in a plushie. That's fucking awesome. Final thoughts. I like the movie, okay, chat? I like the movie. Sue me. I liked the movie. I thought it was good. Thought it was fun. It's also really funny, by the way. I think the first movie's pretty funny, but this movie's also pretty funny. They brought back What an Asshole. It was kind of fun. Anyway, I think we're gonna get to the spoilers now, so... If you haven't left, that's your own fault if you don't want to get spoiled. So, spoilers. We're in the spoiler territory now. I'm going to get way more specific now. There's a lot, and I don't know what I could start with, to be honest with you. This is going to be way more rambly than most of my... This is going to be more like a podcast format, so I apologize, but, you know, you're going to watch it. You're going to watch it. Just starting, I think, with Mike, Vanessa, and Abby. Mike in this movie is kind of strange, but I'll get to him later. I really like what they did with Vanessa in this movie. I kind of called it, but it's not hard to call. I'm not a genius or anything, but from the trailers, you could really tell that they're going to focus on her trauma from the first movie and her entire childhood, and I really like that they revisit the dream theory kind of concept from the first movie as well, having Vanessa use it to go back and see her past trauma as a kid, and that gives us an excuse to see Matthew Lillard, which is great. We get to see more of him without needing him to be really relevant to the story. I mean, he is relevant, but you get my point. So it's great to see him. He did a great job in his scene. He was very intimidating. I guess talking about that flashback scene, one thing that caught me completely off guard, and I made an audible noise, Circus Baby was in this movie for a second, and I thoroughly did not expect that. That made me go fucking bananas in my seat. So that's canon that's in this continuity, and her eyes were green, by the way, but I'll get to that in a second, what that could possibly mean. Overall, I think Vanessa's character was very well continued and was very strong in this movie. I think she kind of takes a more main character role, because Mike doesn't have as much development in this movie, because that was what he got in the first movie. But I really liked her addressing that trauma that she has, and that kind of rolls into Michael Afton, which, yes, Michael Afton is in this movie, and definitively Mike Schmidt is not an Afton, so that can go to bed. That theory can go to rest. And I think I can predict that people are going to be a little bit unhappy for two reasons. Number one, the way the actor looks. Again, I'm not trying to insult him, by the way. I know people are going to be mad that he doesn't look like the way they imagined Michael to look like on like fucking Tumblr and shit. That's what happened with William Afton in the books. People have this image in their head, and so people are probably going to react negatively to that. I liked him. I think he played a creep, which, to be honest, if you're raised by William, this is his dad. He's going to be weird. But he's a villain, which is not really Michael Afton in the games, outside of technically, I guess, FNAF 4, right, if you count the mini games. But he's basically taking on the role Elizabeth takes on in FNAF 6, where he's a child of Afton and is cool with continuing his legacy. That's literally his motivation in this movie. At the end, he kind of shows up like a fucking supervillain, is like, I'm going to continue his work. It's like, all right, sick. He gets clapped by Jeremiah, by the way. Jeremiah. I don't know why I didn't expect him to come back, but he did. So he was a good friend in this movie. So Jeremiah, by the way. But that does beg the question. Michael Afton is basically taking on the role of Elizabeth, but we saw Circus Baby, and Circus Baby had green eyes. And I know you all, if you're watching this video, you know what that means. So there is a chance that Elizabeth exists in this continuity. And there's a thing at the end of the credits where Henry does his, tape from FNAF 6, which was really fucking cool, by the way, where he references a her coming, and he probably is talking about the marionette, but I almost maybe think he's also maybe Circus Baby, because the third movie is directly teased. I mean, the Fazbear Frights people show up and adapt what the phone call says happened, where they found one, a real one. So what I think will happen, just like the first movie takes a lot from the Silver Eyes, this movie does borrow some from the Twisted Ones. I was right about some of that. The ending of this movie is pretty much the ending of the Twisted Ones, kind of, in the sense that the OG animatronics from the first movie straight jump the toys. It is like those old SFM versus videos from back in the day, but it's live action. It was fucking awesome, I'm not gonna lie. They shot it like it was Avengers Endgame. Like, the music was epic as fuck. Seeing the first movie animatronics just slaughter the toy animatronics. It did happen kind of fast. The original animatronics kind of coming back, saving the day, and then they all pass on. And I'm gonna circle back now and go back to my goat, Charlie. I was kind of blown away by some of the shit that happened in this movie with that. So just the opening scene of seeing Charlotte try to save this child's life and like holding him in her arms, and presumably he seems to survive and she dies, is very in line with her character. Like, that is my goat. Charlie in the games was always seen as kind of like this protector, and she's kind of described as almost kind of like a, for lack of a better word, I'm gonna say a shepherd for the spirits, right? She helps guide the other children. In this movie, that's very much the case in the intro, but once we get into the meat of the movie, she's very much taken on the role of the vengeful spirit a little bit. That's kind of been relinquished from Golden Freddy. It kind of felt like Golden Freddy in the first movie was gonna be the vengeful spirit, but in this movie, he comes back briefly, and they pass on. The original spirits in the first movie, they pass on to heaven. They actually mention heaven twice, which the only reason I bring that up is because I feel like, despite the fact that the core of this entire franchise is built on the backs of spirits, don't really touch spiritualism and like heaven and hell that often, outside of like, you know, saying Afton is going to go to hell, the darkest pit of hell is open to you, don't keep the devil waiting, old friend, you know, that whole thing. I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. Charlie is the antagonist of this movie, and she is very angry, and it's kind of valid. Like, the way that she dies in the beginning makes it make sense. Also, I think this movie basically soft confirms that the toys are not possessed. Now, in this movie, neither are the Wizards. I have a feeling that's going to do a little bit of damage to the games theorizing. I think with Secret of the Mimic and this movie, I think there's going to be a lot of discourse on whether or not the Wizards and the classics are the same anymore, but I think officially the toys are not haunted. They are being puppeted by the puppet in this movie, and I think in the games, it's the pieces of the old animatronics that were put in them, which we've been saying that for a while, I know, but I think this is kind of direct confirmation that the toys themselves are not haunted. And the way the marionette moves is pretty creepy in this movie, and there's quite literally human possession. The way the puppet moves around in this movie is possessing people. There's a character at the beginning of the movie who is one of the ghost hunters, and she gets directly possessed by the puppet and takes on like puppet characteristics. It's kind of gnarly looking, and I at first really, to be honest, I didn't know what to make of it, but the more we saw the visuals of it, I really enjoyed it, because towards the end of the movie, the puppet, having used Toy Chica to travel around, possesses Abby, and the visuals for Abby being possessed are kind of fucking gnarly, because she gets tall and she gets lanky, kind of like tentacle arms. I don't really have visuals to show you because I can't show you the movie, but it's really fucking cool, I'm not gonna lie. Henry's inclusion in the movie is brief, but it definitely, especially with the very end of the credits, teasing FNAF 3 having his involvement. It seems like FNAF 3, the movie, is gonna adapt loosely FNAF 6, FNAF 3, and the third closet, or the fourth closet, I always get that wrong. Because of the end of the movie, there is now a non-zero chance that we get a Loose Vanny adaptation. Vanessa gets possessed at the end of the movie, and that kind of leads me into Micah being an L. I mentioned that earlier. So throughout this movie, Mike is a little uncharitable towards Vanessa, and it's like he's kind of being a dick, but at the very end of the movie, I kind of get what he's getting at. So at the end of the movie, Michael Afton shows up with the toy animatronics, and he's gonna kill Abby, Mike, and Vanessa. Michael tries to get Vanessa to come to his side. She says no, and she stays with Abby and Mike. However, when the OG animatronics come up to destroy, just fucking squad wipe the toy animatronics, Michael tries to run away, and Jeremiah knocks him out. Instead of bringing Vanessa with them, Mike abandons Vanessa and basically says, stay away from us. And it really hurts in the moment, but he's thinking about Abby. He sees Vanessa as like a magnet for all this crazy shit happening, because now her brother that she never mentioned, and Charlotte, who was chasing Vanessa, and Abby got seriously hurt from that. So it's kind of seems like he's being a dick, but it does make sense. But the one thing I will say, and me and my dad both kind of noticed this, is Henry gives Michael a music box, and it's the classic, you know, grandfather's clock, da 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 da. It's that whole thing, right? And that's supposed to basically help quell Charlotte and her spirit. At the end of the movie, he wields it like a weapon and gets Charlotte's spirit to leave Abby, right? And after he does that, he immediately closes the music box. Holy fumble. What are you doing, bro? This thing that is specifically designed to quell Charlotte's spirit, you closed it. And that leads to when they leave Vanessa behind, that leads to the puppet possessing Vanessa at the very last second of the movie. So holy airball. Not only did he fumble a baddie, but he also kind of is responsible for her getting possessed. So to be fair to him, the second movie is very similar to the Twisted ones, and it's very much a middle chapter. The movie resolves its current threat, but doesn't resolve a lot of the story that it sets up. This is very much a middle chapter. They are definitely making that third movie, especially because of the post-credit scene, but trust me, they are making that movie. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I think Mike will have a chance to redeem himself in the third movie for some of the shit that he said to Vanessa and whatnot. But that's probably my biggest complaint of the movie, was Mike closing the fucking music box. I was like, that's actually kind of stupid that he did that. There's a lot of corniness in this movie, because like I said in this non-spoiler part of the video, you can really tell Scott had full creative control with like the writing, because a lot of his corniness is here. You can tell they're way less scared this time around. Like the first movie really tried to keep it simple and get your foot in the door. This movie goes hog wild. I mean, we saw fucking circus, baby. I'm still ecstatic about that, by the way. I'm like over the moon. But like the puppet physically possessing someone is really, that's like they went all out. I will say, one scene that I both liked and could also see someone really hating is the withered animatronic sequence. Because the wizards aren't possessed, Charlie has to take control of them, obviously. And basically, when Vanessa goes to save Abby, Mike just straight up has to play FNAF 2. Like, he's in the office, and let me tell you, they adapted the FNAF 2 office. It is identical, down to the fucking triangle exclamation point signs, and even like the glowing light buttons on the vents. It's kind of crazy, and I think that was kind of a response to the first movie not having a 100% accurate office, and people got kind of mad about that. So this is literally the FNAF 2 office, and he has to fend off the withered animatronics, and he uses the mask, which I thought was really funny. but in a good way. I liked it. It was cute. However, throughout this sequence, okay, it's kind of funny. He has a lot of time to work on the computer because he's trying to like shut down the animatronics, and it feels like it was shot weirdly because it feels like no time is passing and the animatronics aren't really moving towards him. He has, I don't know, he has like a free action of using the computer. That scene was kind of maybe the weakest, I guess, in the movie, but outside of Mike closing the music box, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I do genuinely think him doing that is stupid, not just for his character, but kind of from a writing perspective. Like, why would he do that? One thing I liked, Vanessa and Charlotte were best friends when they were kids, and so I think it's a really interesting dynamic to have Vanessa come face to face with a victim of her father who happened to be her best friend. It's very interesting. I kind of wish they had a little bit more scenes together, but there's always the third movie. I do like Henry in this movie. I think the way that they actually introduce him into the plot is kind of very organic because there's this Faz Fest thing happening, which is kind of basically Fazbear Frights, although the real Fazbear Frights seems to be happening as well. So there's like a ton of posters on the FNAF location from the first movie, you know, talking about Faz Fest, but one of the posters just says murderer and says call me if you want to know more, and that's Henry. Basically, Henry sees people are talking about Freddy Fazbear again, but they're celebrating it, and that makes him try to reach out to people, but no one did except for Mike, who sees the murderer thing, is like, yep, I know about that. So I thought the way they introduced him was actually really well done. I thought, because we saw him in the trailers, I was really curious how they were going to put him in the movie, and I think they did a really, really good job. I thought the flashbacks with William were really well done. The whole scene with Charlie trying to save that little boy's life, because that's her character from the game specifically. I really liked that. And the imagery of the puppet holding up her dead body in front of everyone was fucking raw. I know the critic score is abysmal, and that is crazy to me because 13 is so low, man. But I enjoyed it. I know some FNAF fans aren't enjoying it, and and that's a shame. To each their own, of course, but I did. I really did. I don't know what to say. I really don't want people to think that like I will like anything that's put in front of me. I really hope I don't come off that way in these videos because it's not like I haven't talked negatively about some stuff in the series, especially if you watch some of my tier list videos, but I did enjoy it. And if you didn't, I'm curious to know why. I think we can have like a normal civil conversation in the comments because I enjoy reading your guys' perspectives. Even when you disagree with me, it's always fun and it's healthy to engage with that sort of thing. So let me know in the comments. That'd be very cool to see. I do think that these movies in a weird way are kind of adapting like the entire franchise as well as specifically the games that they're doing at the same time, and it's weirdly well done. Like FNAF 1 is adapting the first game, but it also brought in lore like Vanessa, which was kind of weird, but it brought in lore from like FNAF 3 a little bit, and a little bit of like the Silver Eyes. Even a little bit of Henry's character, by the way, in the way that he describes him being obsessed with his own work, is very much from the Silver Eyes, which is very cool. I like Abby getting the robotics, by the way. I thought that was really cool because she had her experience in the first movie, but it's very much like Charlie in the books. She gets into robot. Anyway, sorry, I'm yapping. I'm also really tired because it's pretty late at night. I recommend the movie. I know a lot of people sometimes can't afford to go out because it was expensive. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even get popcorn. I think it cost me like $40 for tickets because my dad drove me, but I bought us a ticket and stuff like that. And it was like $40 with concessions as well. And we just got drinks. I was like, damn, that's crazy. There's definitely more that I could theorize about, but I'm not much of a theorizer on this channel. Maybe I'll make a video if you guys really wanted me to talk more about my thoughts, but I think that's good for now. Even though this video is probably pretty bad, but what do you come for Satsuki for, huh?